Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one you might notice a slight change in surroundings. I'm actually in Germany once again. I kind of did a bit of a spontaneous trip and came to visit my very good friend Daniel, who you actually have seen in one of my reviews before. The video that was entitled Introducing a German to Some Traditional Scottish Beers, that was him, and you can thank Daniel of course for this whole kind of YouTube beer thing that I've done over the last few years. It was him that introduced me to the Spezial Rauchbiers, and of course that was where my whole love of craft beer began. But we're filming once again in Bamberg in northern Bavaria in the Franconia region, very famous beer region of course. But for this review, to kick off with this kind of mini series of Bamberg beers that you're going to see, we're going to return to the lesser known of the two Rauch beer breweries that we have here, but they do some awesome beers. So for this one we're going to return to Brauerei Spezial, and we're having a taste of their Spezial Rauchbier Märzen. So this one, it comes in at 5.3% ABV. It's a Rauchbier Märzen, as I mentioned a minute ago, so it's a little bit more of a more malty and kind of slightly hoppier version of a traditional kind of lager beer, if you like. So really looking forward to this one. I actually have tried this beer on tap in the brewery. I bought this bottle in the brewery in town, and I also bought this glass for myself as well. So this is a particularly special review, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer, because I'm very excited to review this one for you. It's been about 4 years or something like that since I reviewed the lager beer from these guys, so it's a long time coming, this review. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, link to my other reviews that I've done from Brauerei Spezial before. Hopefully I can add some more in the fairly near future. I definitely won't be 4 years again before I review another beer from these guys. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the German beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brauerei Spezial then, onto my brewery notes. So as I mentioned to you earlier, Brauerei Spezial are based in Bamberg, which is just about an hour or so to the north of Nuremberg in the northern part of Bavaria. This particular region is called Franconia, of course, a very famous beer region, about 300 breweries, which is the highest density of breweries per head of population anywhere in the world. But this brewery was founded back in 1536 by Leonhard Grosskopf, who came from a very well-known Bamberg brewing family, but he was also trained as a Büttner, which is someone who actually kind of builds casks and puts these casks together. But much of the early success that this brewery had is often attributed to this kind of technical know-how that the family had, and of course they used to store their beer in what is known now as the Spezial up on the Stephansberg Hill in Bamberg here. But the name Spezial is associated with another owner of the brewery, which is Niklas Delchner, who ran the brewery from 1631 until his death in 1664. I think the brewery after him went through a variety of different owners, but the brewery has been in the hands of the Merz family and their descendants since the year 1898, and Christian Merz is the current owner and brewmaster of the brewery. But the Spezial on Stephansberg Hill was acquired during the tenure of brewmaster Georg Oth in 1830. And this was used to allow the beer to ferment in cool temperatures before, of course, they had artificial refrigeration. But this was the case with many breweries actually, and as is the case with many breweries, they used the garden on top of their cellar as a beer garden during the summer months, and this cellar was actually used up until the 1960s for refrigeration of the beer, because these lager beers of course have to ferment at very low temperatures, around sort of 4 degrees, but until the 1960s Spezial Brauerei were using this cellar to ferment their beers up until they got proper kind of machine refrigerators, as they called them on the website, in the brewery. So yeah, the Spezial is still open. It's one of the very popular beer destinations here in Bamberg, and you know, it's somewhere that you really do need to visit. You get awesome food up there. You can try these Spezial Rauch beers, and yeah, it's just a very special place. You know, very beautiful city, largely untouched during the Second World War, so a lot of the buildings are very old, and genuinely old at that, and it's, you know, it's just one of these beautiful places. Bavaria in Germany and Franconia, I can't recommend it enough. The Germans are very kind people. And of course they're always willing to teach you a bit about beer as well, so what's not to like. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the Spezial Brauerei just now. The lesser known of the two Rauchbier breweries that they have beer here in Bamberg. The other one of course is Schlenkerla, which lots of people internationally know, but Spezial Brauerei are not so well known, but they produce beer that is pretty much, in my opinion, it's equally as good, but a beautiful, the lager beer is a beautiful beer. This one is from a beautiful city. What's not to like? But let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. I feel that I've said beautiful far too much in this review, but yeah, should be a really nice beer, this one. But I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one before we open up. It is very, very similar to the lager beer, this one. The distinguishing feature actually on these Spezial beers is the little top label. This little bit here that you can see, the little red bit, that this little bit here, this changes colour depending on what beer you have. So these guys, they have a Weizen, if I remember correctly, they have the lager beer, they've got the Märzen, and I think there are two other types that they do as well. There you can see at the Brauerei Spezial bottle cap on this one. I'm just checking the camera control to see that you guys can see this, the camera focus. But yeah, very, very traditional looking Franconian beer, this one, and you can also see Christian Mertz's name on that little top label as well. I'll just let the camera focus on that for a second. But yeah, like I said, 5.3% Märzen beer, this one, and I bought this one from the Spezial Brauerei right in the centre of Bamberg, the one that's just across the road from Faisla as well, and you will see me review a Faisla beer in the next couple of videos. But yeah, this one is a Märzen. Traditionally, the Märzen beer, it's thought that this beer style actually originated in the 16th century, sometime in Bavaria, or maybe even a little bit before that. But traditionally this beer was brewed in March because there was an old Bavarian law that meant that beer could only be brewed between the 29th of September and the 23rd of April. And the Märzen was brewed right at, from what I understand, it was brewed right at the end of that kind of yearly cycle, and they used to store these beers in the cellar and then bring them out at the end of in the kind of end of the summer months, and then this beer was traditionally served at Oktoberfest. So this is why you get many many breweries brewing Märzens for their Oktoberfest, of course. So yeah, it's a really interesting tradition, this one. But this is a half-litre bottle, traditional Franconian Märzen, this. So without further ado, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. So really looking forward to this. Yeah. And as I said, very glad to get this glass from the original Spezial Brauerei as well. So this is a really, really good introduction, I think, to this little mini-series of Bamberg beer reviews that we're going to do. Oh, look at that. But yeah, the Märzen style of beer, it is a lager beer, technically, but it's like a little bit more hoppy and malty. The alcohol content of the Märzen beer is slightly higher than a traditional lager beer, of course, as well. We are actually going to get all of that in, but that's actually a perfect pour for a German beer. Not bad for a Scotsman, actually. But yeah, this is traditionally how this beer should look. A little bit head just kind of popping over the top of the beer, but as you can see with this one, it's poured a lovely sort of, I'd say this is a kind of mahogany colour. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with that. It's poured that lovely sort of mahogany colour. It's almost a very slight sort of ruby actually as well. You can see there's a lot of bubbles sticking towards the bottom of the glass on this one. They're just kind of gradually going up towards the bottom of that head there. There was a solid 2 fingers of a frothy head on this one. I would say it's a sort of fawn, beigey colour to it, this beer, and you can smell some of these lovely Rauch malts just coming out of the beer on top here, but you can see those bubbles just moving up towards the bottom of the glass there. If I put my fingers behind it, I don't know how well you can see it just because of the colour of the beer, but this beer is actually crystal clear, which is quite nice, and you can see when I put the beer up to the thing there, the Spezial Brauerei mug there. That's really nice. I'm very, very proud of this mug that I bought. So as I say, I got one from Faisla as well, and you will see the Faisla Brewery beer reviewed at some point fairly soon. But I thought this was ideal to kick off with as my first Bamberg review, because my whole love of beer started off with these Bamberg Rauch beers, the Schlenkerla in particular. But yeah, lovely looking beer, this one, pretty much as you would expect in terms of appearance from a Rauch beer. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Yeah, straight away with this beer, you've got those lovely, meaty, smoky malts coming out of this one. Our smoke malts that we get in Scotland, they tend to be a little bit more peaty. They've got a bit of a grassy, earthy sort of thing to them. But these Bamberg ones, you know, they've got that sort of meaty, porky, roasty. It's not quite barbecue, I don't think, but it's that sort of bacony, speck sort of aroma that you get from them. It's a very meaty, pardon me, smokiness that you get out of this beer. But yeah, there's a bit of a bready base to this one as well. There's a little bit of brown sugar, I think, to this beer. It's almost got a little bit of a caramelly, biscuity aroma as well, I think. But yeah, lovely little bit of biscuity malt in there, some sweet caramel, like I was saying. That meaty malt is you know, the mainstay of the beer, though. That's the sort of anchor that's holding this whole thing together. It's the linchpin of the beer. But yeah, a little bit of biscuit in there, a little bit of caramel, lovely bit of bready malt. You can smell a little bit of the hops in there as well. It's got a little bit of that traditional German noble hop quality in there, a little bit of earthiness, little touch of floral quality as well, and then just a light kind of grassiness to it as well. It's got everything you would kind of expect of one of these traditional beers, but of course the whole point of this beer is that big kind of meaty smokiness that it has. The brown sugars, you can really smell in that. Like I said, this Märzen style of beer, it's always a little bit more bready and it's very slightly caramelly from what I remember compared to the original sort of lager beers. It's intended, they've got a little bit more hop in them, they've got a little bit more malt in them as well, and they're a little bit higher in terms of alcohol content as well. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it, because this one in particular smells absolutely lovely. But without further ado, let's have a taste of this beer then. So this one is the Spezial Rauchbier Märzen from Brauerei Spezial here in Bamberg in Franconia in northern Bavaria in Germany, the most famous beer region, I guess, in the whole of the world. So yeah, lovely, lovely beer. Let's get stuck in. Slange, Skål, Prost. Big shout out to Daniel and Johanna for letting me stay with them once again here in Bamberg. Yeah, it's a beautiful beer, that, you know. As I said, you know, my whole love of beer began with these Bamberg Rauchbiers. The very first time I came to Bamberg, of course, Daniel took Flo, his other friend, and I up to the Spezial to try and I think it was one of these beers, of course, that we drank, probably the lager beer, and that was when I actually really started to get into beer, of course. But yeah, you know, when I really started to appreciate beer, it was the Schlenkerla and things like that really got me into it. And it's this the Spezial one. It has its own little kind of niches and things like that. But it's such a beautiful beer, and as I say, so glad to review this one for you. I'm just so happy right now. For this one, I find these beers a little bit more sessionable, if you like, than the Schlenkerla ones. They're just a little bit lighter and easy drinking, which I think is really nice. So yeah, let's try and break this one down a little bit. So with this beer then, you can feel with the malt base in this one, you just get that nice kind of brown bready quality that just blankets the middle of your tongue in this beer, and it's got that sort of German brown bready quality to it, which I always think is lovely. I love that about these traditional German beers. On top of that, it's got a little bit more of a slightly grainy-ish character. You can feel that kind of coming out the further you go into the aftertaste. Right in the centre of your palate though, you get the a little bit of the caramelly notes. There's a little bit of the brown sugar sitting there, and as you go further out from the centre of your palate, you can feel the slightly more biscuity, grainy notes coming out of this beer. But it's one of these ones where it's all about how these flavours go together. That smoky quality there, it's almost like the whole malt base of this beer is just infused with this kind of meaty, porky, almost bacony sort of flavour. The whole thing is just infused. It's the Rauch malts, and I think it's beechwood that they use to smoke these. So when you go a little bit further forward on the palate, and just before you reach that little bubbly part of your tongue where the fruity esters come out, you can pick up that there's a very slight sort of woody flavour to this beer, and it's that kind of, that's where the beechwood is coming out of this, of course, the famous Bamberg Rauch malts, but you can really just detect a little bit of that woody flavour coming out of this beer. But the way the malt base goes together in this one is just absolutely beautiful, you know, lovely, lovely stuff. This beer for me, like I said, compared to the Schlenkerla ones, it's a bit lighter and a little bit more sessionable, if that makes sense. This is a bit more of an easy drinking beer, and of course this is heavier than the regular lager beer that you'll get from the from Spezial. This one is a little bit higher in malt content, a little bit higher in hops and things like that, but it's a beautiful beer that, you know, have a go at this one for yourself if you get the chance, because it's a different take on the style from the Schlenkerla ones. Everyone knows, you know, it's one of the sad things, ultimately this beer will get compared to Schlenkerla, but and because that's the one that's internationally known, but this beer is absolutely beautiful in its own right. For me, it's a little bit more of a lighter, kind of easier drinking one, if that makes sense, but it's packed full of flavour, and that's what I like about it. These Rauch beers really are very nostalgic for me, and it's a style that I really, really love reviewing whenever I get the chance, and this one for me, it's just so nice to drink this beer again. But I like how this one, I think for me the woody qualities of this one are coming out really nicely, and the way the brown bready notes are in there, everything in this beer just slots together very, very well. In terms of the hoppy side of this beer then, back corners of the palate you've got a nice little bit of earthiness in there. It's that typical slightly sweet German noble hop earthiness. As you come further forward along the sides of your tongue, that just smooths out a little bit. Then round the very front curve of your palate, you've just got a little bit of a lighter grassy sort of thing there, and that again is typical of the German noble hops. This beer has everything you'd really expect from this particular beer style. But yeah, in terms of the fruity side of things then, behind the front curve of the palate, of course, you just get that little oily bubble, which is where the juicy fruity esters start to come out of this beer. And for me, this one, there's not too much in the way of fruitiness in this one. There's a very, very, you know, with these beers, you'll always get a little bit of a citrusy note from the kind of grassy point of the hops, if you like. You always get a little touch of that. There's a very tiny amount of there's a very slight red fruit quality to this one, but that's absolutely, you know, it's very, very minuscule, absolutely minimum, but you can pick up, there's almost just a tiny little bit, I don't know if you could quite say it's phenol in this one, but there's just a very, very slight kind of note of that on the front part of the tongue. This beer is of course very, very fresh. It's only just been brewed, if you like, so you can pick up that there is just a tiny little bit of a red fruit quality to this one, but it's very, very minimal. This beer, this particular beer has very little fruit quality to it. There's just a little bit of that citrusy note coming out from the sort of grassy aspects of the hop that you get here. But this is a beautiful, beautiful beer. If you get the chance to try this, have a go at it. It's a completely different take on the Rauch beer style when you compare it to Schlenkerla. As I say, I didn't want to do that too much in this video, because this is a special beer in its own right. But unfortunately, that's kind of what happens with the Rauch beer styles. Everyone thinks of Schlenkerla when they think of that beer style. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful beer, this one. Seriously, have a go at it if you get the chance, or just come to Bamberg and visit. You'll have an awesome time if you come here. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, this one, I'd say it's the bottom end of mid-bodied. Carbonation is very, very smooth. You know, it has that typical German Brauhaus smoothness about it. Overall, the mouthfeel, it's a mix between smooth and wet. It's got a really nice drinkability to it, this beer, as I was saying. It's very nice and sessionable, this one. The malt base has a good balance between those roasty, meaty flavours and the sweeter elements, but they very much balance each other out, and the malt base overall does feel quite smooth. You've got a nice smoothness from the hops as well. I'd be very surprised if this beer is anywhere over 30 IBUs. You know, you can feel a little bit of a roasty character from the smoke and things, and also a little bit from the hops, but by no means is this beer going to blow the head off you in terms of IBUs and things like that. It's just one of these ones. It's beautifully done. It's German perfectionism kind of personified in a beer bottle. It's really, it really is just very, very well done. The fruity character in this one, there's a tiny little bit of that. As I say, some citrusy notes from the hoppy side of things. A little tiny touch of red fruit in there, just because of the different malts and things that they use. But the malt base is beautifully balanced with the hops. The roasty notes in this one and the earthiness that you get from the Hallertau. I'm guessing it's Hallertau or Tettnanger hops that they've got in here. It just balances out so well, this beer. So if you get the chance to try this one, as I've repeated many a time, just have a go at it. It's quite rare to find this one outside the Franconia region, from what I understand. But if you do, just seriously have a go at this beer. It's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful beer. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. I think I can't really say much more. I can't praise this beer much more than I already have. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. So this one was the Spezial Rauchbier Märzen from Brauerei Spezial here in Bamberg. The lesser known of the two Rauchbier breweries that they have here, but an absolutely beautiful, beautiful beer, and I'm very glad that I got to review this one for you here, especially in Bamberg. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this review. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Brauerei Spezial. If you have any Rauch beer recommendations for me, of course, do let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what other beers I should try from the Franconia region as well. There's always different interesting brewery names thrown up there as well. I've tried some beautiful, beautiful beers here in the past, so do let me know which ones I should review for you here on the channel. But thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Make sure you check out my social media, make sure you try some of these Bamberg beers, come and visit this place. It's one of the, it really is just one of these special places in the world. But thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Spezial Rauchbier Märzen from Brauerei Spezial here in Bamberg, Franconia, Northern Bavaria, Germany. Until the next time, Slange, Skull, Prost.